Very rarely does Pokemon touch on very real subjects. The world of Pokemon is a fantasy where the bad guys get what's coming to them and the good guys get to go home with everything being just like it was before. But as with the real world, it doesn't always go this way. Rarely, and very rarely, we get a character who experiences the truly horrid things in the world, but even then, most of the time they end up perfectly fine. Think of Arvin, for example. Arvin's an orphan, one parent left and the other's dead. He managed to bring back the only Pokemon he has left in his life, but only barely, and he got to witness his parents leaving him one more time, only barely hearing them say they're proud of him before they're whisked off to nowhere. He starts the game at rock bottom and doesn't really end it any higher, save for the few friends he made along the way. Sure, Arvin gets a lot from his adventure, but it won't fill the hole in his heart that his upbringing left him. It's a pretty realistic depiction of something like this, though, right? Except they never really go into deep on how Arvin's feeling after everything, and he seems largely fine. Things are better for him now, and that's it. I mean, that's fine for the purposes of the story, but the ramifications of losing both parents and then losing them again before you even get them back, it's heartbreaking. The grief that he went through for his parents, his childhood, his Mabalstiff, I mean, it's all there, but it's resolved really quickly. Of course, Arvin's grief isn't central to the story, so it makes sense for it to be shaved down like this, so to speak. But it's true to life that sometimes you've spent so long mourning something or someone that if you get to see it again, it just doesn't really do anything for you. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to him. But grief doesn't always resolve that way. Sometimes people's grief is left to fester, to grow into something that it shouldn't be. Sometimes you just want to leave everything the same way it was. Freeze it in time and make sure it never leaves you. Sometimes you want to keep everything the same as it was when they were here, so it's like they never left. And sometimes those things that shouldn't be start to look a hell of a lot like your kids. You might have guessed from that tangent, or from the title or thumbnail of this video, but I'm talking about Lusamine here. Lusamine is the only Pokemon antagonist whose goals are, inexorably, done out of grief. She's a tragic, tragic character with such a harrowing story, one which was changed quite heavily with the Ultra games. So let's take a dive into that story, piecing together the tragic tale of Aether Foundation's president, Lusamine. Before I get into that though, I have to ask, if you enjoy this video and you want to see more like it, please show me by giving me a like and subscribing. It lets me know that you've liked it and want to see more, and it's really useful to me as such a small creator. With that out of the way, Lusamine inherited the Aether Foundation from her father, a wealthy man who was extremely caring towards Pokemon. Lusamine, originally, acted in much the same way, many people considering her a mother to the Pokemon under her care. Things were going quite well for her. She was married to a fellow researcher named Moan, and with him had two children, Lillie and Gladion. The Aether Foundation was flourishing, and her husband's research was going incredibly well. His career-defining discovery. Ultra wormholes. An outpouring of infinite energy from a space between, a tear in the fabric of reality itself which, he theorized, could be a bridge between dimensions. To his credit, his theories were correct. From within these portals, Moan discovered a new type of creature, an Ultra Beast, extraordinarily dangerous beasts from other dimensions who, while common and harmless in their worlds, became exponentially more dangerous to Alola. Moan had to know more, and so he began expeditions to discover more about these beings. On one expedition, Moan vanished, leaving behind the lone Ultra Beast Cosmog and notes about another, which we'll get into later. Moan's disappearance devastated Lusamine. Something in her changed, and seeing those notes, she became obsessed. Nihilego became Lusamine's #1 priority. Whether it was to find her husband, to find out what he was searching for, or to find the power that came from them, we still don't know. But this obsession ran deep. Everything Lusamine did was now in service of finding these beasts. She became distant and abrasive with her children. She began pushing them away and forcing them into roles they didn't want, which pushed them even further away. She authorized the creation of a Pokemon purely to kill Ultra Beasts, experimented on Pokemon in cryostasis, and moved the operations of the Aether Foundation away from saving Pokemon and into destroying this alien threat. But is that what she really wanted? No, it wasn't. Nihilego wasn't all Lusamine wanted. Contrary to her actions in the game, she just wanted her family back. Way back towards the start of the game, you can find a storybook in the trainer's school. It's about a trio of Pokemon out on their island adventure. A Pikachu, a Slowpoke, and a Pyukumuku. The book ends by saying that you might yet see this trio on your journey, and you can. In the Aether Foundation. Frozen. Kept in stasis. It's pretty commonly accepted that as part of Lusamine's grief-ridden need to keep everything the same as it was, she took one of these stories she used to read her children back when they were a family and put them on ice, keeping them in stasis and preventing her children's childhoods from ever expiring. Her actions with her children are extremely controlling, but viewing them as her trying to preserve her family, to preserve these childhoods, these actions start to make more sense in the lens of her twisted view of the world. She, like the mother of young children, dresses them, but she also blames them for their shortcomings. She lashes out, she becomes abusive, neglectful, and terrible. She's grieving the family she once had, and she's taking out her misplaced anger at Moan for leaving them on their kids, which causes Gladion to repeatedly lash out in return, and eventually running away, with Lillie too running away soon after. Any analysis of Lusamine would be incomplete without talking about her children. Both Aether kids love their mom, and clearly mourn the woman that she used to be. Lillie talks about how Lusamine was a kinder person once. She treated everyone with kindness, people and Pokemon alike. But now it's all a farce. Gladion, well, it changes from version to version. I, personally, find his reason for leaving far more compelling in Sun and Moon, with his reason for leaving being the abuse and horrific experiments his partner Pokemon Type Null faced, as well as his refusal to allow the abuse of himself and Null to go on, seeking to become stronger to protect Lillie as well. Lillie calls him out on this too, stating that Lusamine got even worse when he left. This, in my eyes, is a really good representation of a broken family. We never get to see how Arven's parent leaving him affected his relationship with the other parent, but here we get to see the whole mess unfold right in front of us. Gladion's relationship to family is difficult. He faced the same abuse as Lillie, but we don't really see the details of this other than that Lillie got it worse after he left. He resents his mother, in a sense, but at the same time he's just a kid. He had to be the older brother in this situation, and though he had to run away, he's always had his sister on his mind. Gladion deeply cares for Lillie, and it's no doubt a result of a bond forged in such a broken household. Most importantly, though, he does not hate his mother. As I've stated before in this video, he just wishes she was back to normal. This isn't like Silver with Giovanni, or Arven with the professors. Lusamine was his mom, not just his mother, not always an abusive parent who lost her mind to the unknowable space beyond because the love of her life was taken from her. He misses the time she'd read them stories before bed about Pokemon going on adventures. He misses when he and Lillie were close. He misses when they were a family. And let's talk about Lillie for a second. This video wouldn't be complete without dedicating a section to her. Lillie's character arc is entirely about breaking free from the restrictions her abusive mother had placed on her ever since she was little. Restrictions that only grew worse when her older brother ran away with one of Lusamine's prized creations. Her outfit is reminiscent of Nihilego, something I'll get back to later, and was said to be forced on her by her mother, and her friendship with Cosmog is an attachment to one of the last remnants of her father. Lillie, like her brother, mourns the family they lost, though she wasn't old enough to know what happened to it. There's a scene where Lillie reminisces on a time where her mother really felt like a parent to her, way back when she was a kid. They'd watched a movie where a man goes out and dances in the rain, and Lillie loved it so much that she wanted to go out and dance in the rain too. So, one time, late at night, when it had been raining, she just did that. Lillie continues the story. My mother spotted me out in the rain, and she was so shocked that she ran right out after me without even bothering to get an umbrella. And then, she smiled, and she danced with me in the rain. Of course, we both ended up catching a cold. She let me sleep in her big bed with her. I was so happy that I kept waking her up again and again just to make sure it wasn't a dream. But then, she changed. And all she would think about was the Ultra Beasts. And Null and Nebby, they both ended up suffering so much, and I couldn't do anything. Lillie desperately wants not just to have her mother back, but to save her. Lillie believes that something can be done to bring back the old Lusamine, the one that'd go dancing in the rain with her instead of scolding her or forcing her to be this pristine shot of a little girl straight out of a family portrait. Lillie is forced to act like a little girl, never allowed to grow past that stage, and there's a reason for that. Nihilego is one of the most terrifying Pokemon in the franchise. This eerie, jellyfish-like Ultra Beasts pack with a potent neurotoxin, the ability to influence people and Pokemon. One of its Pokedex entries points out that it seems to act like a little girl. Its resemblance to Lillie is no coincidence. Nihilego, a Pokemon that preys on people and Pokemon like a parasite, sees a woman with the ability to bring out what is effectively a massive buffet for it in its kind, and so it begins to influence her. Through her grief, it makes her obsessed. It makes her believe that she can keep and have the family that she wants if she just submits to them, even going so far as replacing Lillie as Lusamine's real daughter. I believe, mostly, that all of this was Lusamine's own actions, not the actions of the Nihilego. Her grief at losing her husband and subsequently both of her children gave the Nihilego a perfect opening to insert themselves as her new family, and they fit perfectly. They followed her commands, they looked like how she wanted them to look, they loved her just like how she wanted to be loved, in a way that she had full control over. This lure worked wonders, and Lusamine's tampering with Cosmog opened wormholes across the Alola region, with her and Guzma falling directly into the one Nihilego comes from. I think the symbolism here is very obvious. The Nihilego's resemblance to Lusamine's child is not a coincidence, in-universe or out. Lusamine's obsession with the Nihilego is tied directly to the last notes Moan left behind, and Lily's appearance directly mirrors that. As her kids, similarly, are the last remnant of Moan that she has left. Nothing in her life matters more to her than that, which is why she abandons everything in pursuit of it. Maybe, just maybe, if she can get to that part of him that was there when he disappeared, but, of course, it doesn't go like that. Lusamine falls deeper into insanity, Nihilego's influence breaks her and she becomes the Mother Beast. When you defeat her in this state, and the Mother Beast separates, her last words to Lillie are to call her beautiful. Up to this point, throughout the entire game, she repeatedly calls Lillie ugly. This is a berating tactic that's common among abusive parents, and for Lusamine it's an attempt to further control Lillie. It's a Mother knows best situation, like from Tangled. Control is the name of Lusamine's game, and the more control she loses as her children began to realize they don't have to conform to her, the more she loses her mind, until it eventually breaks and she realizes what she's been doing the whole time. Ultra Sun and Moon drastically changed this cutscene in a way that I really don't like. Lusamine's best line isn't even present and the scene is a lot worse for it. But a common criticism of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon's handling of the scene lies in the fact that Lusamine is redeemed at the end, and Lillie and Gladion accept it. Many people don't believe this is warranted, or believe it's out of character for the Lusamine and Aether siblings set up in Sun and Moon. I disagree with this wholeheartedly. For starters, throughout the entirety of the game, both Gladion and Lillie state multiple times that their mother was not always like this. They were old enough to remember times where she wasn't this way, and know that she can be like that again. They know that. That's important. They don't just think she can be saved, they know she can. As sad as it is, these two kids know that their mom is mentally ill, that she's lost everything and can't cope with it, and they know they need to show her that for her to come back to her senses. While Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon's version of the scene does not work as well in my opinion, it doesn't really matter in the end because both still exist. And it's not like Ultra Sun and Moon's Lusamine has no merits either, but we'll return to that in a bit. I can understand the misunderstanding that Lusamine is this purely evil, abusive, manipulative, and controlling person, but that's just not realistic. Within the context of Sun and Moon's main story, it really seems that way, but that's just not who she is. Lusamine is a woman riddled with grief to the point of breaking. She attempts to control and micromanage her children's every move because it feels like, to her, that that's all she has left of her family. And instead of embracing the change that, despite their loss and moving forward, they could become closer, Lusamine chooses to stay back and lashes out at anyone who dares to change her perfect world. She wants perfect love, the kind that's unconditional, never changes, and can't fight back or can't leave. But she can't have that. Her children are human, and so is she. Nihilego's manipulation only works because they're not human, and Lusamine comes to understand that Moan is gone, and becomes proud of the girl Lillie has become. She realizes her wrongs, and she wants to come back. She says this after being able to battle her later on. I'm in no position to face my children now. I've lost any right to claim that I'm protecting Pokemon as well. If I can't be a mother to them, and I'm no longer worthy to be president of this foundation, then what am I to be? I am Lusamine. I am the president of this foundation and the mother to Gladion and Lillie. And while I will pour my love into protecting Pokemon and my children from pain, I will also try to be strong enough to watch over them without interfering from now on. That would be an even more beautiful kind of love, wouldn't you say? I learned to think this way after watching you, young one. This leads me to the final scene I want to talk about. After the Rainbow Rocket postgame and defeating Gladion at the Pokemon League, a cutscene is unlocked with Lusamine. It's Moan. He's here for a tour, and he doesn't remember. Not her, not the faculty, not the Foundation. But Lusamine takes him on the tour anyway, telling him about everything, before asking him, weakly, if it's his first time to the Foundation. When he says yes, She decides not to tell him anything. She lets him go, fully accepting that the Moan that she knew, she fell in love with, married, and had a family with, the one she fell into insanity because she couldn't let go of, is gone. She accepts it, stating that his smile is lovely now. Lusamine loves him so much that she's willing to let him go, because what she has left behind and what he left behind was a family that loved her no matter what, and despite the odds would do anything to save her from herself. Lusamine is this incredibly complex character, and one of the best that Pokemon has ever written, in my opinion at least. I know that despite the effort that went into presenting the story the way I'd read it, analyzing it the way I see it, I couldn't possibly do the Aether family justice all in one video. There's just too much going on. So, I urge you, please, replay the Gen 7 games, and you'll see it too. And maybe if you guys requested enough, I can cover the rest of them in the future in a more in-depth format. That being said, if you have requests for specific videos, please leave them in the comments, and if you somehow managed to make it this far, I really think you'd enjoy the other videos I've made, and maybe you'll consider hitting the subscribe button and liking the video? Maybe? Regardless, I hope to see you next time, and goodbye!